Before we get into the video, I just want to remind you guys that I have some new Miami themed shirts on the merch store, and you can check them out by clicking the top link down in my description. I really think that this is some of the most unique Canes game day gear on the market. You're gonna love them. Well, here we go again. Another post-game reaction video where I don't get to smile. Guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump straight to the point. At the end of the day, nobody cares about moral victories. And unfortunately, right now, this team doesn't know how to win. Miami seems to struggle at the start of games, and we also have a difficult time finishing them. I wish that I could come on here and tell you that I was confident in that final drive late in the fourth. But the reality of the situation is that I wasn't. I wasn't confident at all. And it's because I've seen this play out time and time again, and I know how the story ends. And you know what? I don't like the ending. And the funny thing is I went into this game expecting a loss. This was my prediction from my preview video, 38-21 North Carolina victory. And much to my surprise, we did actually keep it much closer than this. We all know the final score, 27-24. But yet somehow, even going into it expecting a loss, I still find a way to get upset over it. I wanted to be wrong so bad. You guys truly just, I feel like you don't understand. It's a different coop when I do the preview videos. I try to set my Canes pride to the side, and I would have loved to have been wrong. Sometimes it feels good to get things wrong. And that's exactly what this scenario was. But, man, it just... overall, we're not a good football team at the moment, period. But, hey, I know that right now this is an initial post-game reaction video. So, of course, I'm going to be heated. I'm going to be in my feelings. I'm going to be a little emotional right now because at the end of the day, I bleed orange and green. I'm a Canes fan. I care about this team, and you know, I want us to get better and be good again. So I am going to be a little upset. It just is what it is. I don't want people coming on here and telling me, Coop, well, if you care about this team, you wouldn't vent about it. You wouldn't be super vocal and criticize them on social media and on your YouTube platform. Yes, I will. I'm going to come on here and tell you that I can do whatever the heck I want to do. But I want you to know that it's out of love. It's constructive criticism. I'm not going to come on here and say, this guy sucks. That's not how I do things. I will be critical. I absolutely will, especially of the coaching staff. I will be critical on those guys. They get paid the big bucks. You know, they got to develop these guys, but also the players got to execute. You know, the thing is everybody right now wants to point fingers. They're pointing fingers at this guy, at that guy. But at the end of the day, it's a team effort. Everyone has to come together. The chemistry has to be there. It's more than just one guy. It's more than just one thing. But let me just say, let's take a look at some negatives, but then let's also end on some positive takeaways from this game. So maybe we can cheer ourselves up a little bit at the end of the video. So let's start with the negatives. Man, right now we're 2-3. We've lost 3 straight games, and my season prediction going into this one was 9-3. I was told I wasn't a real fan, that I was crazy. And now we're at a point to where we have to win the rest of our games in the hopes that we do go 9-3. That's going to be the goal at this point because that's the best case scenario for the regular season. And don't forget, guys, Clemson is still on our schedule. I still believe that the slow start in the first quarter of this game really hurt us, and it came back to bite us in the butt at the end of the game because we actually held UNC to just 7 points in the first quarter. That's actually a big W for us. The issue is we put up 0 points in the first quarter. That's a problem. We also only rushed for 34 yards on 17 carries in the first half of this game. I mean, that's an average of like half a yard per carry. That's pitiful. In the end, we only ended up rushing for a total of 42 yards in this game. And North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, was giving up an average of around 150 or more yards rushing per game coming into this matchup. And I mean, even Florida A&M rushed for 56 on UNC. Is it a lot? Absolutely not. But it's sure as heck more than what we put up. Not by a lot, but still more. Are you really telling me that FAMU could muster more rushing yards against that North Carolina defense than the Miami Hurricanes could? Now look, I get it. The counter argument down in the comment section is going to be, but Coop, we threw for almost 500 yards in this game. That's got to count for something, right? Yeah, I mean, it does. Congratulations. We threw for like 497 yards in this matchup, but somehow it only equaled 24 points. 24! And our red zone play calling is still super suspect in my opinion. I mean, I think that Gaddis overall, in the grand scheme of things, called a much better game this afternoon. I mean, he did play to TVD's strengths. Obviously, TVD looked much more comfortable in this game. But, I mean, we ended up turning the ball over on downs from, like, the 1 yard line, I think, at one point. I mean, bro, come on. Red zone play calling is still absolutely an issue. And, I mean, if you were to sit me down, let's say I missed the game entirely. I did not get to watch it. And you sat me down and you just showed me the overall team stats for this game. Just the team stats, and you told me to guess which team I thought won this game, I would probably say the Miami Hurricanes. I really actually would. Now let me ask you a question. Does that sound familiar? Ring a bell? And man, Rooster definitely had a costly fumble late in the game. And Jalen Knighton is my man. That's my dude. That's actually my favorite Miami Hurricanes football player on the offensive side of the ball. I'm always rooting for that guy. And I don't know if maybe because he's, coming back from an injury, maybe it's a mental thing, maybe he's not quite ready. I don't really understand what's going on with that. But I know he dropped a pass early in the game, and then he had that fumble late that was super costly. A big-time bummer with that. And then also we had the tipped pass late in the game on that final drive that resulted in an interception that ended the game. We've had so many tipped balls at the line of scrimmage so far this season. Like, what is going on? And can we please talk about the coverage busts that continue to plague us and give up big-time plays? Most of the time, touchdowns. But you know what? Let's transition over and talk about a few positive takeaways from this game, because it's not always just all doom and gloom. I mean, if we want to nitpick, there's always some positives that we can pull. And, I'm getting too heated. Honestly, I am. And let's just transition over, talk about some positives. I mean, TVD did play better, right? I mean, he looked much more comfortable out there. We'll take a look at the stats here in a moment. That's partially on Tyler Van Dyke, just in general, working on his mental game and just everything he's doing in general, but also on Gaddis calling, again, overall a little bit better of a game. Also, the D-line, all things considered, played pretty darn good. Around 9 tackles for loss and 5 or 6 sacks. We were getting pressure on Drake May. And again, overall, I think that we made him play the type of game that we wanted to force him to play. He threw 2 picks this afternoon. I also feel like Cam Kinchins played really well in this game. He did have an interception, and just overall, he looked pretty good and comfortable out there. And I do agree that overall, I think this is something most Canes fans can agree on. Tell me if I'm wrong down in the comment section. I agree that the fight and effort was definitely there. I liked the body language. Guys were more hyped up. At one point, I even saw Tyler Van Dyke being vocal out there. And that doesn't happen very often. So I loved the effort from the team overall. Just not the final result. But with all of that out of the way, let's wrap up this video by jumping over to ESPN.com, taking a look at some team stats and some individual stats from the game. So first downs in this one, Miami 30. Third down efficiency, 5 of 14. That's still, I'm not real happy with that. We had to go for it on fourth down 6 times. 50% when it comes to that. 538 total yards of offense. Again, look over at North Carolina, guys. Well, all we talked about over the last 2 weeks was North Carolina's high-powered offense. Total yards, we put up more than them. 496 of that was passing. Only 42 rushing yards. Like What happened? Like this just completely flipped. It's absolutely wild. 4 penalties for 35 yards is not bad. Overall, that's pretty disciplined football. And man, those turnovers came late. The Jalen Knighton fumble, the Tyler Van Dyke pick came late at a crucial time when we just could not afford any turnovers. The box score here, Drake May, like I said, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. That was big time for us. But Tyler Van Dyke, 42 of 57, 496 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's more of the Tyler Van Dyke that we're used to seeing. Now, again, I'm not one of those people that's just pointing fingers at Tyler Van Dyke. It's also a Josh Gaddis issue. There were O-line problems. There were receiver drops. Again, I'm not here to point fingers at one specific person. I don't even need to look at the rushing, man. Absolutely just pitiful. Moving on. Will Mallory had a big game. He had that drop late, bro, like when it mattered. And it hit him in the hands like a perfectly drawn up play. And he dropped it. I mean, what I hate is Mallory had 8 receptions for 115 yards. The problem here is when you don't make a play late in the game like that when it really matters, that's what everyone is going to remember you for. They're not going to remember the 8 receptions for 115 yards. They're going to remember that drop ball late in the fourth quarter. That's what everyone's going to remember. You got to make those, man. Rashard Smith, 5 for 59. Ladson, again, had a pretty good game. 2 games in a row, 8 for 59. Knighton out of the backfield. Drop it. Anyway. Getting Parrish involved as well. Colby Young had 3 straight catches in the fourth quarter. 3 for 43. I personally think, tell me what you guys think, that we need to see more of this guy. I've heard, some footwork issues and maybe potentially not practicing very well, but it's just 3 catches. It's just 3. But I will say he's a big body receiver, and I do think that that's somebody that we need to play more often. I mean, what do we got to lose at this point? Skinner getting involved, 3 for 40. Keyshawn always doing his thing. Defensively, so we did end with 5 sacks total, 9 tackles for loss. Jackson and Corey Flagg leading in total tackles overall. Man, Corey Flagg is balling out overall. This defense is not perfect. There are plenty of areas where we're struggling, but overall, Corey Flagg is leaving it all on the field, and I cannot hate on that dude. I absolutely can't. Tyreek Stevenson, man, I don't know. Like I said, this is out of love. It's constructive criticism, guys. But we got to figure something out because that man can lay the wood. He can hit, but it's too slow, bro. Like, I don't know what we got to do. We got to change something up because a lot of times, we're dealing with, issues with the safeties and stuff at times as well. But they like to target Stevenson with the deep ball, man. They do. So let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the comments section below. I'm still fuming. I'm still heated, even though I knew what to expect going into this game. Some of it's because on my other monitor over here, I'm watching FSU beat NC State right now, which makes me sick to my stomach. I know they lost to Wake Forest last week, but they're beating NC State right now. And they're whatever, man. I'm done.